we know torture is absolutely forbidden. It's one of the strongest prohibitions in international law. There's no doubt of that. It is clear. But despite that clear understanding and acceptance, it continued to be kind of circumvented by the persistent myth that torture is an effective way, an effective tool for obtaining reliable information. And that myth became incredibly dangerous because what he found and what we continue to find is that torture and coercion continue to be used and normalized within the criminal justice system. Verónica Hinestroza, I am an international human rights law practitioner. I'm a consultant and I am an associate expert of Omega Research Foundation. I basically have dedicated my career to supporting the implementation of international standards at the domestic level, both in transitional justice processes and in criminal law. In the framework of this work, for more than 20 years now, I have been working with judges, with prosecutors, with defense lawyers, with victims, with civil society, with forensic doctors, with national preventive mechanisms, and with law enforcement in trying to bridge, the existing gaps for implementations of those standards in the domestic level. Latin America has been an incredible example of embracing and implementing what the Méndez Principles bring. It has been a delight to see how different actors within the justice system, but also how civil society have embraced the principles, even in ways that we did not expect when we were, drafting them. So, to mention a couple of initiatives, the first ever manual for defense lawyers to use the Méndez Principles in their own interviews with clients was developed in Mexico for the public defender's office. Argentina has trained their public defenders on the Méndez Principles now more than once, with in-person trainings, with role plays. They have really invested in them understanding how they can not only challenge the interview, when they are present, as they should be in every interview with their client, but how can they also make better questions in the time they have allowed with their clients. So that has been incredible to see. In Argentina, they also hosted a huge conference of public defenders from around the region. And one of the topics that was addressed was the Méndez Principles. We have seen it also in the transitional justice kind of environment. Colombia, with the special jurisdiction for peace, I think brought in the first ever mention of the principles in a judicial decision. It was an appeal case. And they quote the principles, particularly regarding tunnel vision and the importance of keeping an open mind when conducting interviews. Then we have very, very relevant the decisions, judicial decisions in Brazil, but the Superior Tribunal, two already quoting the Méndez Principles. We have the Inter-American system embracing the principles and inviting countries to use them. But also we have, and that's a very recent development that I always like to mention because I think it's a great example for the region. We have the Organization of American States mentioning the importance of using the principles when training law enforcement that are involved in interviewing members of organized crime or alleged members of organized crime, which I think it's a fantastic step, because what we see is that, as I was saying, rapport can many times be embraced by law enforcement, but what we hear is also, well, yes, rapport is all good and establishing trust, but that is for certain crimes. So it is very important to show that what the Méndez Principle bring is applicable to all sorts of scenarios. So in my experience, training and providing capacity building on the Méndez Principles, it's not difficult to accept. It's particularly not difficult to accept by law enforcement officials or bodies. Why? Because they do want to see their work as a more professional, endeavor, and to be learning about techniques that work, and being taken, having the interview taken as a serious exercise that requires practice and requires particular skills. So they actually become excited about understanding what report is and using it. What I will say, though, is that they they find it very difficult, and here's where I think it's a big challenge, understanding that legal and procedural safeguards are part of establishing rapport, and even more important, that they are part of the responsibilities. Because investigators, in particular, those or anyone responsible for carrying out an official interview, has come to see, themselves, himself, herself, as an isolated part of the process of justice. Like this comes apart. Someone else takes care of the safeguards, of the registration, of the lawyer, of the doctor. I'm here just to do the interview. This is an isolated process. And in doing that, they almost have kind of dismiss their obligations within the chain of custody for making sure that legal and procedural safeguards are granted to the person they are interviewing.